Slow-moving coup. If you think you've heard those three words before, it might be because you occasionally watch the comic Bill Maher on his show Real Time, which is on HBO Max. He started saying this on or about 8+ years ago. And we are in the process of it no longer being slow in this breaking story you have got to see. Because this is becoming something that is no longer humorous or something we can just throw some media at. This is serious stuff for this country. And Tom Nichols is someone who, before he started writing for The Atlantic, was actually a professor at the U.S. Naval War College. In other words, someone we might want to listen to.
Why this article? Why now? Why is it important to take us back in history?
Well, the answer to why now is because Donald Trump is trying to return to office with a very clear agenda to become an autocrat, to subvert the Constitution, to undermine American freedoms.
About these nominees.
He is not going to ask a single question about any of these nominees. He is going to give Donald Trump carte blanche. That's an abdication of the Senate's responsibility. What worries me about this cabinet is that it is essentially putting the billionaire class in charge of American government.
And that was Senator Chris Murphy talking about now who's going to be in charge and running this country. It isn't just Elon Musk. Keep on listening.
But you were adamant that people should stop talking about him or stop calling him a fascist. Stop using that term. Why were you so adamant about that?
Before I was a writer, I was a professor of political science, and the word has meaning. But there was a deeper political reason, which is that you don't want to wear people out.
How long and difficult this is going to be. The Atlantic's Tom Nichols reminds us this week that holding Trump accountable in a second term is not a sprint, because Trump and his team will continue to use chaos as a strategy. Nichols writes, quote, "The president-elect and his team have spent much of November baiting and trolling their opponents while throwing red meat to the MAGA faithful."
With a term that should have really electric force when they hear it. And I worry that over not just the past few years, but for decades, people in the United States especially have called all right-wing movements they don't like fascism. And I think that wears people out because fascism is a unique danger.
Why he believes re-electing Donald Trump would be founding father George Washington's worst nightmare. Washington's nightmare, Donald Trump is the tyrant the first president feared. Why this article? Why now? Why is it important to take us back in history?
Well, the answer to why now is because Donald Trump is trying to return to office with a very clear agenda to become an autocrat, to subvert the Constitution, to undermine American freedoms, to stain the presidency even worse than he did the first time around. All presidents, even the worst presidents before Trump, still had this kind of benchmark of George Washington, a man of integrity, not a saint, but nonetheless someone who set the standard for presidential behavior. Other presidents at least tried to pay lip service to it. Trump seems both unaware of that and really doesn't care about anything related to the office other than how much power and security it can bring to him.
So in this breaking story, years from now, or even perhaps months from now, when you go, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening, please note, it is happening. And here is Tom Nichols regarding this breaking story.
And, this is just incredibly dangerous. And you're starting to put together, we don't know what will happen with the Hegseth nomination, but you put together Tulsi Gabbard as DNI, John Ratcliffe, another loyalist at CIA, Kash Patel at the FBI, Pam Bondi at Justice. You have the makings of, a not so slow motion authoritarian takeover of the United States government. And people ought to be really concerned about this.
I can't possibly understand how 50% of Americans couldn't grasp that this isn't about the price of eggs. This is about being an autocrat dictator. Not to mention 90 million people didn't even vote. The fact that Donald Trump has all of the money behind him, the fact that Donald Trump has elected officials in the Senate and the House, but especially in the Senate for cabinet picks, who aren't even going to ask questions of the nominees because it's just a rubber stamp for the kiss the ring president, who's getting a second shot at basically the U.S. Treasury Department and a slow moving coup, which may feel slow, but it's not. Get as many folks as you can to do the same, because it is, you want to talk about it takes a village, it's going to take over half this country to wake up really quickly during this administration and do something about this slow moving coup. Stay frosty.